I can't hear anything either. Can you hear the meeting? No, but we can hear each other, right? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, no, well, we can't hear the meeting.
Yes, we can hear, or you.
Shall we
But
sing the
not the
Star
meeting.
Spangled Banner? I think they're singing the Star Spangled Banner.
I saw their hands on their hearts, so I said the pledge with them, with all of us.
Hard to say, it's hard to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I sent a private message to the Rotary Club Zoom account, and he
Can you hear me now, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tori, we're on invocation.
Perfect timing. So
No,
I'm
we can't
reading.
hear you. Hang on.
Oh. How about now?
We can hear you.
Kevin, are you ready?
Are they frozen?
All right, we're good.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can.
All right. So today's invocation is just a little bit of a speech from John F. Kennedy. Let us therefore proclaim our gratitude to Providence for manifold blessings. Let us be humbly thankful for inherited ideals, and let us resolve to share those blessings and those ideals with our fellow human beings throughout this world. On Thanksgiving Day, let us gather in homes blessed by family affection to express our gratitude for the glorious gifts of God, and let us earnestly and humbly pray that He will continue to guide and sustain us in that great unfinished task of achieving peace, justice, and understanding among all people and nations, and of ending misery and suffering wherever they exist. Amen.
Amen.
I apologize to everybody on Zoom. The tech crew did not finish their job. I will dock their pay. John's informed me we have no visiting Rotarians or guests that we're aware of, so we will move forward from there. Our Rotarily Yours recorder today is Lynn Gruhl. Our many thanks to the committee for all they do. And they have a meeting immediately following this meeting to discuss some upcoming events. There's 2 sign-up sheets that are going around. One is for next Monday night at the Chop House. We are looking for an approximate head count. You can also register online. You should have received an email from Michelle Jones this past Friday with the link for online registration. And if you make a last-minute decision to attend, that'll still be okay. There's no cost at the door. It's cash bar and cash food. The other is for the a cappella concert at First Lutheran Church on December 6th. It's very important that you indicate your plan to attend and any guests you're planning to bring. That way we'll know we have enough chicken and biscuits that Vicky will be bringing. Let's see, Sherry, you're online. Do you have any announcements from your meeting last week?
I do. We had a great parent-student information meeting. We had 6 or 7, I can't remember for sure. There we had kids from Jamestown High School, Southwestern, and Maple Grove, and they all had parents. Well, most of them, I couldn't see some of them, but so I thought it was really productive. I've received 2 preliminary applications right now. Preliminary applications are being taken through November 29th at the very latest, so that we can schedule interviews on December 2nd. And I believe the interviews are going to be at the Resource Center, but I have to confirm that with Chris Anderson. So we're off to a good start. We'll see how it goes.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. The Christmas party will be on December 20th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Location still pending, but I hear we're having Christmas trivia and a lot of fun. So keep your eyes out for more information on that. And Joanna, would you like to come tell us about Red Kettle? While Joanna's coming up, Michelle Starwalt Woods is with us today as a guest. I guess I should have announced you. You're part of the family, though. Do you have an announcement or you just popping in?
Just popping in. I wanted to say though, that for the first time in dozens of years, all 5 clubs in Chautauqua County have met the qualifying first stage of applying for a district grant. So as the process moves forward, if all 5 clubs are approved, that'll be a nice chunk of money going into all of Chautauqua County. So I'm really excited about that. The only other thing is there's a celebration of life for our past district governor, Karen Oakes. It's going to be virtual Zoom. That's this Sunday at 1 p.m. I believe Penny and or District Governor-elect Lisa Bishop has sent emails in regards to that. But if anybody does want to attend, doesn't have the information, just let Kevin and I know, we can get that to you. And that's all. Nice being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am going to send around a sign-up sheet for Red Kettle. Right now, I've talked to them and it's the only date we have that we need to cover is December 4th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. They're blocks of 2 hours. There's only one person allowed at a time at the tops on Washington Street. I've also, not used the computer very well lately. Made a little sign-up sheet on the bottom and use the back as well. If you could indicate on below there what dates, times, and that you might be available for volunteering, I'll set it up with the Salvation Army and put you in the grid for the campaign. And you'll get an email confirming your date and time. If you can't cover something, get a hold of me and one of us will jump in. The goals I've set personally, and maybe there's more expectations, I don't know. Being my first time, is to cover 40 hours for the Salvation Army this year.
Thank you, Joanna. And if you read the paper this morning, we all know that Salvation Army is looking for more volunteers. So anything we can do to help, that'll be great. Any additional announcements? Oh, Sue. Photo time.
David and Melissa are on their way to Pakistan to set up our wonderful inoculation center, our refurbished inoculation center. Michelle, do you know about this? Michelle, do you know about our inoculation center in Pakistan?
A little bit. I was having trouble hearing you, but now I'm hearing you correctly. And I have heard the backstory of it. Yes.
Okay. Well, our folks got their visas, they're on their way there, and they got a phone call from Pakistan saying, we don't know too much about your club. Would you get some photos and stuff? So I took pictures of the hotel. I took pictures of your back and the people who are Zooming. But now what I want you to do is wave, and I'll take a picture of your front so that David can kind of identify people for them. That's all I'm asking, no money, but just a nice smile and a wave, okay? This is nice. I'm gonna take a couple.
Our folks on Zoom are waving to you too.
Okay.
Folks on Zoom, wave one more time. All right, thanks, Sue. Amy Roller, 50-50.
And we will have our guests draw. Oh, you do. Oh, I see. Well, okay. You might have just messed with Lisa Goodell's accounting. Let's just save this for later, I think. Just for, I know. Yeah, just, I don't want to mess up anything. Okay. So we will have Stephen Cobb from the Mental Health Association draw the winning ticket. Last four digits, 9469. Better not be Sally. 9469. We have a very organized group this morning. Oh, good job. There you go. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, well, you donate to give to me later. Oh,
Who was
so
the winner?
Dave Painter is going to donate his winnings to the United Way 2021 campaign. Thanks, Dave.
And Sergeant of Arms Doug Conroe is in position.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. And we appreciate your having donated well to the pot for a couple absences you've had to have. Glad to see you here. Look forward to seeing you again often. Let's see. We have not a great number of people are here today. Must be the holiday week has already started. But as I look in the newspapers, I have not seen a lot, but Marion, you're on pictured here, and you were in the Gazette today, you and Rod, in Roundabout Town. So we do take electronic contributions to Happy Bucks, Marion. And we'll go from there.
Super. Thank you. We'll make my payment.
And I don't see Walt. I'm looking for Walt. I don't see him anywhere on here. There you are. Walt, what you just snuck in. How long you been sitting there? In any case, you were interviewed on the Chautauqua Sunrise program on cable access TV, Channel 5, mostly up around the Chautauqua Mayville area, where that channel is. Good job there. Good job. Anything you'd like to say about the interview that you need to disclose?
I was delighted to find that Doc Hamels is a Rotarian too. So we got to put our oar in the water about how wonderful organization we are. It was an interview about Kay's book, The First Counter Spy, coming out. Of course, the backlog in the supply chain hit everybody. The release date for the book has been pushed back by a month because we thought it'd be better to put it on paper.
Okay. Today's National Public Health Thank You Day. So if you know anyone in the public health that's out there vaccinating people and testing, be sure to take a moment today to say thank you to them. There are some momentous occasions on this day. 1542, Spain passed a law affecting America. Who might know what that would be? Let's see. Greg, you got an idea? You surely know these things. The Spanish flu. Well, close, but no cigar. Spain banned slavery in America in 1542. Boy, that law didn't last long, did it? And Tori made note in her invocation today. She quoted JFK. Today is a date to remember on JFK. At 1 o'clock this afternoon will be the anniversary of his assassination. Not happy part, but there are happiness things. So, Andy, is it male or female turkeys that gobble? And what time of day do they gobble?
It's males and they cackle. Whatever they do, they make noise in the morning.
Yes, good job. Only male turkeys gobble. And gobbling is only during the day. And where do they sleep? Bushes? No. Where do they sleep?
On their feet.
On their feet. Actually, they sleep in trees. They go to trees at night for protection. So Joanna wants to donate for that one. I saw her nodding. Okay, but if you're looking at, and the thing that's important today, you know, how long did the first Thanksgiving last? Pat, Kenny, how long? And how long do we celebrate it today? 2 hours. Well, Walt's got the correct answer. 3 days. 3 days, the first thing. And if you're looking for more Thanksgiving trivia, look in today's Gazette, because you'll find things in addition to what I've mentioned here. So I'll let it go at that. Happy bucks, might there be some?
It's called Chunkina, 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 Kina, Nagasaki, Yokohama, hoi toi, hoi. 63, oh boy. Jamestown High School does it again. There you go.
Any other happy bucks? I'll make it easy. I'll come to you.
I have a few happy bucks, all related to United Way, which Sally today told me I should talk more about. And then she handed me her campaign donation. So that's a great reason to go to Rotary. You can give me personally your campaign donation. I also want to thank those of you who have volunteered at Wegmans, or your spouses who have volunteered at Wegmans, like Diana's, during their scan campaign, which ends on Thursday on Thanksgiving Day. So please, when you're at the register, donate to United Way. And just a real deep appreciation for this community, how generous they are, how just what great relationships exist to be able to raise this kind of money for some really, really excellent programs in our community. One of which is sort of housed at Mental Health Association. They meet there at least, which we're going to hear about today. And so I'll give one more $1 for the Mental Health Association as a great community partner of ours.
So I've got one happy buck for Greg Jones's socks. And I've got 2 happy bucks for a new bar that's coming to town, Two Gingers Inn. My fiance has bought the old Coaches, or the College Inn. So right now we're building a bar. Everything's gutted. We're extending the bar, all new equipment, and it's going to be an Irish pub. So thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Anyone on Zoom? Happy bucks? It is now my pleasure to welcome Stacy Hannon from the Program Committee, who will introduce our guest presenters. For those attending by Zoom, please feel free to ask questions now that we have the audio corrected. I'm going to pull the chat up here. Yes.
Oh, he ran away with the can. I have $1 here. Last week, as the speaker chair here, I missed the word last name, Melquist. It is not Melquist. It is Melville. And I've been having so much fun with this past week, talking with Kristen, because I messed up her name. And so we've been having some fun back and forth. So sorry that I did that. So her last name is Melville. Okay. All right. I'm going to introduce you this week's program. And it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers from Jamestown Pride, a community organization in Jamestown and the Chautauqua County region. Jamestown Pride supports lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual And they do have, of course, an acronym that's has lots of letters in it, which is LGBTQIA. And today we're going to hear from Sheridan Smith. He is Jamestown Pride's coordinator. Sheridan is also working on his master's in social work at Temple University. And we also have Rudy Andalora in the Jamestown Pride. He is the Jamestown Pride programming co-chair. And he's also a modern ballet instructor at Chautauqua Regional Youth Ballet. And Steve Cobb is the executive director at the Mental Health Association in Chautauqua County, the parent organization of Jamestown Pride. Emily Van Way was not able to attend today. However, she is the Jamestown Pride programming co-chair in LGBTQ, lesbian, and she works at Prevention Works. And we welcome all three of you. And we look forward to your talk with us today. Thank you.
Hello. So my name is Sheridan, just introduced, but I am the Pride coordinator. To give you a little bit of history on Pride, in 2019, I was in a support group for the queer community at the MHA and just asked a question that I thought was pretty innocuous. Why doesn't Jamestown have a Pride? And someone suggested we get a public meeting going. We got a bunch of people from the public to come discuss it, and I facilitated that meeting, and then very accidentally became the coordinator. Still surprises me, but it's been incredibly fun and incredibly challenging to do this. But Pride is a very large partnership. And the committee, which we were going to have 4 representatives here today, but it comprises a number of people and organizations that have helped us get to where we are. But Pride is something that means a lot to this community. We had to cancel the first Pride that was going to be in 2020, but since then we have had a few events, including our finally first big Pride festival, where we got to hear stories of people like somebody who moved away 50 years ago because they weren't sure if they were welcome in the community. And 50 years after they moved away, they came back because they knew that they were welcome. And children who were able to bring their parents in to witness the celebration of a community that they feel a part of. Children who were able to share something with their parents through, this event that we were able to put on. It's been a wonderful thing to be able to be the head of Pride. However, as many of you probably know, as leader, I just do miscellaneous things and there are other people who actually get things done. I'm going to introduce Stephen Cobb from an organization who has helped us make this possible and get us off the ground. So I'll turn it over to Stephen.
I lied. I told Sheridan I was going to stand at the podium, but the podium feels so far away from all of you. About 6 months ago, I made a commitment to myself that whenever I'm out in public, I'm always going to mention the overdose epidemic that's happening in our community. And I'm going to touch on it for just 2 minutes because it's so important. In September of this year, Chautauqua County, we passed the number of fatal overdoses that was our highest record ever. So we're in new territory of what's happening in our community. And the thing that's interesting about the numbers is that of the people who experienced a fatal overdose, 42% of those folks did not have any opiates in their system except for the fentanyl that produced the overdose. So what that has shown us that a lot of the people who are overdosing and dying are folks who are not what you would think of as someone who's a regular heroin user. There's no such thing as heroin anymore. Also, it's all fentanyl. because the intensity of fentanyl is so extreme. So I just want to remind everyone, if you are not trained in Narcan, I would love to train you at this point or at any point at the Mental Health Association. How we've looked at Narcan has changed. We used to think, get it out to the people who are using. Now what we look at it as is first aid. So if you have a first aid kit at your home, if you have a first aid kit in your car, you should consider also getting Narcan. And training for Narcan is really easy. In our newsletter that came out this month, we've actually added a QRC code there. So you can just take a picture of that. That'll take you to our website. You can be trained. And the Mental Health Association will either deliver or mail Narcan to your home, your business, within 2 to 3 days. So, and I would love to at another time talk to all of you more about that. But it's really important to keep the reminder out there. I'm not someone who actively uses substances anymore, but I still carry it with me. I was, about a year ago, I was on my way from the MHA's office to JCC to participate in a lecture. And as I was headed down to JCC, a young lady ran out to my car and stopped me and got out and said she needed help because somebody was dying in her house. She didn't have a phone. I had Narcan in my car, was able to go in and save that gentleman's life. So even if you yourself are not using substances, or if you don't think anyone in your family or anyone in your close circle is using substances, you still should have Narcan. Because often when people overdose, for a lot of family members, that's the point where you realize there's a problem. So I have 12 boxes of Narcan with me. If anyone would like to be trained before you go, I can train you. But we need to keep talking about this as a community. There's a lot that we're doing. There's a lot that's working. But this is going to be a problem that's going to be with us for a while. So as it's so important to talk about this with COVID and vaccines and elections and politics and all that stuff. We don't hear about this as much anymore. But I made a commitment to keep getting the word out whenever I'm in front of people. So if you'd like to ask me any questions afterwards, I will. I'd be happy to talk to anyone about this. So that's the news that I didn't want to talk about. So now I can go on and talk about the news that I wanted to talk about, which is Jamestown Pride. And so the Mental Health Association is the parent organization of Jamestown Pride. And it really, for myself and the board of directors, it was a no-brainer. When Sheridan came to us with the interest that the group at the Mental Health Association had, myself took it to the board, and I know there was no dissent, there was no disagreement. This needed to happen. And in fact, in 2012, when I first started working at the Mental Health Association, we had a support group for the queer community, and we had a picnic at Allen Park, which was an early Pride celebration here in Jamestown. And actually, mental health organizations in a lot of communities historically are the home of Pride celebrations. If you look around the country, you will see this. In New York City, the Pride Center has a very large behavioral health component to it. In Pittsburgh, that's also true. So it really is a natural fit for us. And the opportunity to make this happen was a very exciting process. And we were ready to go, and then COVID hit. And we obviously had to stop and reset and do things in a different way. But when we were able to pull it off this summer, boy, was it a great time. And if any of you were able to participate with us here in downtown Jamestown, we had over 1,000 people who attended that day. We are having our Pride celebration in conjunction with the Jamestown Public Market. That was also the first day of the market, and those vendors who were at the market that day have reported to the Jamestown Public Market that that was their best day of the season. In fact, most of them sold out that day of their product and items. We also had Crown Roasting, who was a big part of Pride because of their location, reported to us that that was the busiest day they've had since they have opened. We also got a similar report from the wine cellar, which chose Jamestown Pride Day as the day that they reopened after COVID. And what was really, we kind of joked that for one day we turned the wine cellar into a gay bar. What was amazing about the event was it kind of felt like a grand reopening of the community because we had all been inside and we had probably seen enough of each other, and we're quite happy to get out and to get into the community. So, thinking of why organizations and why community institutions should participate in Pride is, as we're in a time where we're constantly thinking about diversity and inclusion and equity, and supporting something like the Pride Festival checks off all those boxes. So we can think about it as something from that sense that we need to do, but we can also think about it from a personal sense so that it's really just the right thing to do. And as I was running around on the day of Pride, like a chicken with my head cut off, at one point I just stopped and it kind of hit me that this is also about economic development, because I had not in a long time seen so many people in the city of Jamestown. And as I began to talk to other businesses about that, I had a discussion with the Chautauqua Center that the two of their recent doctors decided to sign and come to Jamestown when they found out that Jamestown was having a Pride Festival. So these are things that businesses look at, that businesses want to see, and it really has a big impact on businesses. I think of the Mental Health Association and how it changed just the way my staff, my team at this point, we have 19 full-time employees at the MHA and 2 part-time employees, and how this brought the team that I have at the MHA together. It changed the way they look at things. It changed the way they interact with each other at work, and it made them better at their job, better. Now, we are a human service organization, so this is an area we're always looking at. How can we get better? How can we support the people in our community? My staff has been, in a small way, transformed in the way they interact with people. They become more inclusive. They become more sensitive. And that has developed a sense of community that just kind of radiates out and impacts everything. We think of safety, or a lot of us think of safety, thinking of where are we going to be, where are we going to spend our life. In 1984, when I graduated from Maple Grove High School, I made a choice to leave this community. One reason was because the field of study that I was interested in was not something that I was going to be able to make a living in here in Jamestown. The other reason was that at that point, I didn't feel safe here. I identified as a man who was gay, and it just didn't feel safe here for me. About 10 years ago, I returned to the community for some other reasons, and I noticed things had changed. And I made a commitment to stay here. And I think if I hadn't sensed that change, I don't know if I would have stayed. And that's not something that just impacts me. That impacts everyone in my family who supports me, my mother, my father, all those folks, my family members. When I feel safe in the community, but taking it beyond that, it's not just about safety, it's also feeling organically like you're a part of the community. And businesses look for that when they're thinking of coming to communities or expanding. So at the MHA and realizing this impact that we had, I started looking around our community to see where else is that impact being felt. I noticed it, the change even at, I'm on the vestry of St. Luke's, and St. Luke's was a big partner and participated in our Pride celebration. And some of the folks who are part of St. Luke's weren't too sure about this. What's going to happen? How are we going to support a Pride celebration? St. Luke's ultimately chose to bring their youth group to the Pride celebration to help volunteer. And I remember having a conversation with one of our vestry members, and he was explaining to me that he had never been to a Pride celebration, wasn't sure what was going to happen, but was going to give it a shot. And what's interesting is the vestry at St. Luke's, we're in the process of planning. Many of you know Father Luke. He's taking a sabbatical this summer, but he will be back. And we're in the process of planning, what do we do in his absence? And that person who was on the vestry nudged me during the vestry meeting and said, Steve, don't forget to bring up Pride. We need to be a part of Pride. So there are these big ways in our community that Pride makes an impact. It makes us diverse. It shows we're inclusive. But often it's the smaller things that each of us have within our power to show acceptance, to show acknowledgement, and to show respect. And there's a couple things that I can think of that really touch me. On the day of Pride, we were setting up at the Winter Garden Plaza, and I turned and I looked up the building that's right on the corner of 4th and Main there, where David Snow has his insurance office. And David had taken all of his windows that face out onto Winter Garden Plaza, and he had painted them in the colors of the Pride flag. And that was such a significant show of acceptance that touched many of us at the festival. One of the other things that happened, the MHA, one of our partners is UPMC, and we do a lot of work in and out of the hospital. And UPMC reached out to us during the Pride Fest and said, hey, we're going to raise a flag for the week of Pride at UPMC. And they invited the Pride team and the staff of the MHA to come over during that. And again, something that might seem small or significant, it's not a Pride festival, it's not a concert, but it's a small but significant step that UPMC shown to the community to show support. So that brings me to thinking of ways as a community we can all show support. So as I get ready to turn the microphone over to Rudy to talk a little bit about some of what the Pride Fest was like, I just kind of want to task you all with thinking of how can you support the queer community in Chautauqua County? What is it that you might do over the coming year? And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be flashing lights. It's a simple acknowledgement that we are welcoming of everyone in our community. And those signs get noticed and people see them. And it's amazing how things like that deepen and strengthen our community. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rudy, who's going to talk a little bit about what the festival was and what it's going to be. Thank you.
I just want to make sure everyone gets a good look at my mask. It's going to go away now. Thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you, Sheridan. It's really important to acknowledge my colleagues in the field of Pride. Without them, and of course, Julia, another colleague of ours on the Pride Committee, without them, there's no way we could do all this, and I don't want to do it by myself. So I brought a really neat artifact. I was so excited to be invited to Rotary. What do you think this is, or an artifact of? Student exchange. And in 1997, I arrived back to Jamestown from Izmir, Turkey, because you sent me away to Izmir, Turkey as an exchange student. So I had to bring an artifact. Normally, the tradition is to put all this on a sport coat. This is the only one I have right now. So I opted for a scarf, and to let you know that I'm very honored to be here well over 20 years later to share with you. Thank you. This is a big reason why I'm able to stand up in front of you today and talk to you about Pride. The survival, the culture, the figuring it out every day while living abroad has shaped so many things about me. So not only am I a ballet instructor at the Chautauqua Regional Youth Ballet, I am a retired public school teacher, 21 years as a first and third grade teacher. I then went on to achieve my master's in Italian language and also taught at SUNY Fredonia and University of Buffalo, Italian language, 101 and 102. And I'm very fortunate now to be back to work because I'm really not retired. You know, I have to work still, right? Yeah. I am a prevention educator at Prevention Works part-time and also teaching with Chautauqua Institution. There is a drum and dance program that we go out into schools and work with disabled students to get them socially and emotionally healthy. So that's been the big theme about us talking about Pride, is the social emotional health behind it all. And that's where I came in with the entertainment and the programming to meet the needs of the social emotional health part of it. A lot of people may think Pride is a party, and it is, and it's very fun. But if you can change the way if I can change the way you think about that or someone else, well, why do you need to do that kind of party? We celebrate every day. We celebrate everything. Yes, I understand, we do. But for some people, they're still hidden. They still might be experiencing other abuse regarding the topic. And there's a lot of people who don't deal with it well. So the reason why we do Pride is to save lives and to get people to be in a mentally healthy place, to accept something that's different than you, but to also let that human know who is different and diverse that you're okay and you're going to make it and you can become something very productive in society. That's why we do Pride. And it has a big impact. Once it starts, it's probably not going to go away, which is really good news for this community. Because as you heard the examples of the business development, the things that it brought downtown, even if a business owner may not be in concordance with LGBTQIA and that language, that's okay. You should take part in the economic growth, right? That's what we're here to encourage and represent. Because when you have the diversity and the equity and the inclusion, you build a mentally healthy human, which then motivates that human. I can do more. I can unlock potential in me that I've been hiding for so many years. Does that make sense? So Rotary, let's rewind, unlocked my potential. And that's why, again, I'm standing in front of you here today, over 20 years later, thanking you immensely for providing that opportunity to unlock my potential and be here back in Jamestown to celebrate this with my community in my hometown. Let's turn to the fun stuff. I brought evidence of what happened during Pride Day, and you can certainly take some time afterwards to look closely, but I'll start here. Part of the touching moments, especially like the small things that Stephen touched upon, was when the month of June began. I took a ride out downtown and I had to swiftly pull over because I was in awe of the lighting that happened around City Hall. And it was the first time we had seen that. So I made sure I stopped and posted up on Instagram and Facebook and told everybody, hey, come take a picture of this. And there's more that we had done to lead up to Pride. We had a National Coming Out Day event. That was our first inaugural event at the Fenton History Center, which is extremely significant for this community, not just the LGBTQIA community, all of us, because it becomes archived at the Fenton History Center. It's never going to go away. And to make that imprint on this community is such an honor. And people were able to come and tell their coming out story. Have you heard people talk about their coming out story before? Some of them are fine, some of them not so great, and some may attach a lot of personal pain to that story. But what a way to get together and release that pain by sharing the story, and in a productive manner that's not threatening, that's really just on a human level. This is what happened to me, and you never know, you could possibly help someone who's coming out by sharing your story. So it's been a buildup of things. And then I had to wait because I had this all set, contracts, dealing with local artists and local bands, our major headliner. I dealt with all that, and then boom, that was shut down. But I continued. We continued to plan through COVID. We continued to excite the community. Hey, this is still coming. Don't go nowhere. All right. It turned out magnificent. There was education. There was everything for families to come together and participate together. Parents, their children, children of our school community, children and youth of our surrounding communities. I gave a personal invitation to students from Salamanca High School who worked so hard to get the pride flag raised permanently on their school campus. Those are exceptional examples, okay? But we put all that together to show everyone in the community, this is how we do it. So we had drag queen story time. Ever been to a drag show? It's fun. And it's an imaginative place for students to experience, or youth to experience. It's more prevalent on TV and entertainment. And then we had a variety of places in the market where you could stop by, have a conversation, or participate. The education part was either listening to a drag queen story, which sent a nice message to youth, or you could move along down the way to a booth where we had the identity flower, where you could share what your identity is anonymously and post that, and we took pictures of that. You could also participate in what was called the gender bread story. So a story about gender and what that means, and for youth to understand that language. We also had the Fenton history representing us in the public market. We had a local band perform as a treat in the public market. What am I missing in the public market? There was more. Let me bring it. Yeah. Thank you. We had the pronoun button making station that was free to all attendees. So this was daytime. As you spent time in the market and got to know the booths in the market, we corralled everybody up an alleyway that goes up to the Winter Garden Plaza. And there we had a chalk walk as well as a mural art walk. And people were writing their endearing messages about what it's like to be gay or what it's like to feel. And it was really touching. It was really touching. We hope to keep that going. When you arrived at the safe space, is what we called it. That's the proper term. I invited every humanitarian organization I can think of, and just to list off some of those. We had, of course, St. Luke's Church, which was a big part. We also had the Universalist Unitarian Church come in and set a booth in the safe space. We had the YWCA, Human Rights Commission, Jamestown Community College and their Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee. We also had the Resource Center, the Jamestown Justice Coalition. And we had the, let's see, we also had the MHA set up a table. This was an amazing experience because the point there, whoever I could invite to be visible, visibility is key, even if you don't identify LGBTQIA. My question was, what is your comfort in standing with those who identify, as well as which other oppressed people can stand in unity in the same way? Does that make sense? So we put it all together in one area. So every human got to experience a humanitarian effort as they walked through the safe space. Meanwhile, we had entertainment and music and drag queens popping up and Zumba class to help promote health and wellness and meditation and yoga. It was a really fun and interesting presentation. I didn't think it was going to work. It's now going to be a permanent fixture of Pride. Everybody loved it. We took a break from that and carried on to our evening entertainment. And this was very purposeful in bringing in someone that we knew would attract, let's say, a crowd, right? But it was more than that. It was someone from here, someone who was born here. His name is Michael Stack, all right? But the other name is Pandora Box. And Pandora Box is a very famous drag queen right here. A friend of mine, actually, from Rochester, because I used to live there. And she is a high competitor in the show RuPaul's Drag Race. So that's the rage. That's where that comes from. She's a 3-time contestant and a winner as well in one season. She agreed to come here and give the show, the drag show of all shows. And what a neat experience to have someone who was born here come back and connect with the community that we're trying to build, right? It was a treat and everybody loved it. There were lots of screams and hollers and beautiful entertainment. In addition to that, in our show, I invited local artists to participate with dance and music and poetry. Let's see here. What am I? Yes. Okay. And at the end of the night, it was really fun. I got to invite people to come up and do a catwalk. So if you were dressed however, you were able to walk in front of the crowd and be cheered on just because you had the courage to stand up in front of this crowd and walk in front of them. So I am very fortunate to dedicate myself to this humanitarian effort. And because of my experience as an exchange student, it gave me the strength to reach farther and change the narrative that for so long, that doesn't belong here. And that's the narrative we try to change. Because if it doesn't belong here, where do we go? Right? So leaving you with, and thank you for listening to all this. I hope it was coherent. I'm going to leave you with one of my admirers. I admire this figure, and when I met Sheridan and Stephen and the rest of the committee and Julia and realized quickly what they all stood for, it took me back to this piece of history that I held on to, and that is from Harvey Milk, a politician who was very prominent in building advocacy for LGBTQ community and was a major role in the counterculture in the 1970s and 60s and 70s. But it's about this. All young people, regardless of their sexual orientation or identity, deserve a safe and supportive environment in which to achieve their full potential. Thank you.
We're running a little over time, but if there are any questions, we can take a couple, I think. Well, yes, I agree with that. I understand. Any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank all three of you for your presentation today. One of Rotary's major international programs is the eradication of polio around the world. We are just 2 countries in the world where polio exists. In honor and thanks for your presentation to our club today, we will make a donation in your names that will vaccinate 4 children who will never experience polio in their life. Remembering that this year's Rotary International theme is Serve to Change Lives. Caring for and serving others is the best way to live because it changes not only other people's lives, but also our own. Thank you, and we are adjourned.